Hey, welcome back to Planet Hex. I'm Andrew Horn. I couldn't really go on talking about VHS tapes without covering the video nasties now and again, could I? I have covered them before on this channel and at length in my books, vhsatemybrain and the sequel, The Revenge. But I haven't talked about them in a little while on here, and that needs to be rectified because they are such an integral part of the VHS scene, especially over here in the UK. It was less of a thing over in the States and elsewhere, I know that, but because it was centered on the controversy in the UK with the whole satanic panic and the whole, will these videos destroy our society? I think you'll find that society will destroy society, but anyway. And I just wanted to see what these tapes were going for these days and if they are indeed selling at all. Because you hear a lot about tapes that will bring you in loads of money, that will bring you in a fortune, and you'll see various things on Facebook groups, for example, where people have got screenshots of people asking for thousands of dollars or thousands of pounds for something that's worth about a tenner. And I find it interesting that these tapes are still kind of demonized, even though most of them are off the list now. Most of them are no longer a controversial thing. Well, they're still controversial, I guess, but they're no longer on the DPP ban list because that doesn't exist anymore, not as it did anyway. But there are still some movies that are very, very notorious, and I see one straight away in this. So I've gone over to on eBay. I've put VHS video nasties to get a bit more reach in what I'm searching for there, and I'm going to have a look at what has got bids on it. So I've set it to ending soonest. To see what has got bids on it so far and see if what is actually selling at the moment. And this top one, I would have that in a second if it was like 30, but I can't do 90 quid for that. But yeah, Nightmare Maker with the original Atlantis big box and what looks like a poster there as well. That is a really nice looking tape. That has been on the channel before, so I know that has not sold the previous times it's been up. So maybe lower the price. That would be pretty good. But that one gained notoriety for me anyway as one of my grails for a long time because it showed up in an episode of The Young Ones where they had a video with "We've got a video." In that episode, yeah, they've got a copy of Nightmare Maker. So the full title of that is Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker, and it's quite like a psychological horror thriller. It's sort of like Giallo, but not. It's an interesting watch. Do check that out if you have a penchant for old school stuff. Now, and right under that, we've got just the cover for Anthropophagus the Beast. Just the cover, a spare used VHS preset sleeve, and that's got 7 bids on it, and it's currently £46.04 for a cover, just for the cover itself. But yeah, Anthropophagus is really, really notorious. I'm going to open that. Let's have a look at that one. So it was known in some regions under the title The Grim Reaper, but that was like a cut version. Dare I open this up? Yeah, it's a grim movie of cannibalism and much gore, and why not? But yeah, that's going for £46, but I'm not seeing tapes with bids on yet. We've got a copy of Deep Red there. Nightmares in a Damaged Brain. Again, no bids on it. Let's see what we've got here. I did recently watch the documentary about the guy that distributed Nightmares in a Damaged Brain. And I think it was just called Damaged, the very British obscenity of David Thingy that put it out. Very, very good documentary. That was a very descriptive title of it as well. Check it out on Prime. Just put Damaged and you'll find it. This very notorious tape, understandably because it was quite an extreme movie at the time and still remains extremely blurred. Fair enough. Putting a high-end tape on. Don't put a photo like that on it, mate. Come on. That is very, very cool, though. Oh, I think at the back there's some more tapes at the back there. Anything I recognise? No. What's the tape condition? That is a good looking tape. There's no mould. There's a bit of a scuff there. You can see the scuff on there, but there's no mould on that. So that is not bad at all. And that means a Damaged Brain. Exclusive UK distributors. World of Video 2000 Limited. That's a cool label. Absolutely lovely. But, well, I say lovely. It's Nightmares in a Damaged Brain, so it's depraved and very, very nasty. Satan's Blade. Fair enough. Dawn of the Mummy. Not a nasty. See, Extra. See, I've got a copy of Extra like that. I've just got a copy of Extra. There's the tape. I don't have the cover with it, but it's awesome. So that's not got any bids on it. Just the tape, just £5 for an original copy of that. Okay, so we've got Scanners 2 World Order. Not a video nasty. So when you are looking at the looking for video nasties on eBay, do be careful what you actually get, because things like Scanners 2, that is not a nasty. It's not. It was not one of the either prosecuted or non-prosecuted of the 79 films, I believe it was, that were on the DPP's list. Do be careful and look at what you check out what you're getting. Go to a list. I do recommend that VHS in My Brain Revised Edition has quite an extensive list of all of the nasties and their current status. That would come in handy. Not just selling that. There's free lists online. You can find the DPP's list online really easily. But yeah, when you're looking for this stuff, do be careful that you are getting a genuine nasty, and not just a horror movie that someone had listed as a nasty. There's a copy of Cannibal Ferox there. There's a copy of Performance Bikes. Oh, it's called Video Nasty. Fair enough. There's a copy of Cannibal Ferox there. That is the Vipco edition. So this is, while Cannibal Ferox is very much a nasty, Umberto Lenzi's shocking Cannibal Ferox, the most violent film ever made. This is not uncut. This is a cut version, put out by Vipco, the budget label. I love Vipco. I wore a Vipco hoodie for many years. I've got a book about Vipco, and I've got a bunch of the films on their various like bare bones editions that they did of various things. But yeah, just for completists, if you like, this edition of Cannibal Ferox is not uncut. But if you want to see it, go for it. So if you want an uncut one, you want to look for a very different one in a bigger box. We've got Nasty Habits there. Betamax, not VHS, first release beta. That's not one of the nasties, but still. Oh, look, a book about VHS. I recommend a couple of those as well. As Blade in the Dark. DPP interested. Blade in the Dark, that wasn't one of the... That's... What? What's that? I don't think it is. Is my memory fading? Quite possibly. Oh, okay, got Shogun Assassin there. Der Henker des Shogun. Cool. That was Shogun Assassin. It's a story of lone wolf and cub. Gory, blood spraying everywhere. Thoroughly entertaining. Okay, with 3D logos, like 3D printed logos. Let's find some tapes. Contamination t-shirt, random. Last House on the Left shirt, Night of the Bloody Apes. That film should have been called Night of the Bloody Awful. See what I did there? So there's some Buy It Now, that's stuff that's not getting picked up. Basket case. On a forefront video, basket case, that's budget tape, dude. Pieces. None of these have got bids on. That's really interesting. A lot of these aren't tapes though. There's all kinds of stuff coming up here. But it's interesting that the VHS tapes that are coming up are not really, they're not showing up with bids at all. And there's all these Buy It Now ones that have not been bought now. Let's see what else we can find on the video nasties on eBay, because it's quite clear that a lot of these are just not selling. So I wonder if a lot of the things that would be going for decent money, maybe being exchanged on, maybe being sold back and forth on Facebook groups or other social media platforms are available. But it's interesting to see that this stuff is out there. Oh man, that's so cool. So if you've not seen this, I hugely recommend this. This Video Nasty is a definitive guide. This is a signed edition, and it's low numbered as well. So this is a really good collectible. We'll go back to tapes shortly, but this was. Look at the running hour on that. Look at the running time. 13 hours and 25 minutes. So it's got a really good documentary on it. It's got a load of idents. It's got all the trailers for 39, the 39 nasties that were prosecuted, and the trailers for the 33 movies that were not prosecuted but were still part of Video Nasties controversy. Do check that out if you've not seen it. There's a second volume that's not as good, but it's still thoroughly entertaining. But that one is just everything. It's absolutely addictive, that. So they've got Anthropophagus there on 88 films, on Blu-ray. Absurd on Blu-ray. That's a strange thing. When I've spent so much time looking at these things on VHS, it is a little weird to see things like Absurd and Anthropophagus. Absurd was a pseudo sequel to Anthropophagus the Beast, by the way. But it's strange seeing these things on super high def formats, or actually, for sale, because they were so notorious for such a long time. Man from Deep River posted there, original USA poster, not a reprint. That's a good one. That's very cool. I wonder what else they've got in their listings. Ratman. That's not one of the nasties, but oh my god, that edition of Ratman from Shameless Films is a brilliant watch if you are particularly twisted. That one it's as complete as it gets, from what I remember, and includes a lot of footage that was left out of other editions, but it's been added in. It's been added in from different source materials, so it's varies in quality. So when you watch that edition of Ratman, it does kind of jump around from quality, so it's sort of watchable, and then it's like terrible 6th generation VHS or a scratch 16mm or anything like that. But it's really interesting to see it all pieced together for the most complete edition you can possibly get. But that is not a pleasant watch. Cannibal Holocaust on Blu-ray. Happy Birthday to Me poster. Again, dude with the posters. Let's have a look at this. That the same guy? Yeah, it's the same guy. Got Man from Deep River. A Thai poster of Puppet Master. Thai poster of Anthropophagus. Wow. Got New House on the left. Retitled Night Train Murders. Nice try. Fun House. That was in the Nasties era. Living Dead at the Manchester Morgue on Blu-ray Steelbook. That's a good one. I enjoyed that. Video Nasties definitive guide. See, now we are at a point where you can find pretty much anything that you would want to check out in terms of the Video Nasties. I think they are pretty much all uncut and available uncut now. I think there may be one or two that's still a bit iffy, but even some of them have been reclassified, like Unhinged and so on. They are now 15s, so people can easily access these things that were prosecuted. You could be prosecuted for owning or distributing. Let's try some VHS horror video and nasties. Typing slow because my mic's here, and I'll knock everything in. It'll all get funny, and then I'll just look ridiculous. No change there. Tenebrae, that was part of the part of that era. Evil Speak, again, £11.12 for that copy of Evil Speak. It's fine. It's not a terrible price, but it would be far higher if that was an uncut edition of Evil Speak. That is a quite pared down edition of Evil Speak, and that's a shame because I do love that. The bright yellow I Spit on Your Grave shirt. See, we've got extra with the cover there. It's not a big box, but that looks like it is a pre-cert. Because those stickers look like they've been put on afterwards, by the look of it. Yeah, those have been. I think that may be slightly later than the pre-cert, that one, because it does have certifications on it, as well as the sticker. Zombie Flesh Eaters, I had that as Zombie Flesh Eaters. I had that edition. That's another Vipco one. That's a bit less explicit in its Vipco-ness. It does say Vipco on the front, but it's not quite as visible as some of the ones. Very gory. Time Out. The Return of Lucio Fulci's masterpiece. Um, it was just not uncut, not uncut. Not far off, but you know it was cut for the UK market, which was a shame. Driller Killer stuff. Funhouse. Funhouse is like a 15 now, but that is a really fun movie. If you've not seen Funhouse, it is a decent a decent slasher. Funnily enough, set in a funhouse. Cannibal Holocaust 2. Another Vipco tape, previously unavailable. That's because it was shite. And not Cannibal Holocaust 2, because there is no such film. Zombie Creeping Flesh, £167.11. Buy it now. Is anyone auctioning these things? Let me just switch to auctions and see what people have put. See people have got them, what they've got up there. I think that may be more indicative of what people are going to do. So yeah, we've got the Anthropophagus there, just the cover. Has anything got any bids on? At the moment, none of these have got bids on. Uncut edition of the Bogeyman, £1.75. That looks amazing. I'm going to bet, looking at the cover, that is another Vipco tape. What do we say? Yep, there it is. So while it is uncut, it may not be a very clear version of it. But that looks like it's one of the latter day releases, just by the look of the cover and so on. That's a former Blockbuster tape. Yeah, so that's from like the early 2000s, that one. But that's presented on. I like Bogeyman. I like Bogeyman. I've even got a soft spot for Bogeyman 2, which was just largely flashbacks to the first film, regurgitated with about, I don't know, 3 seconds of new footage. I know it was more than that. It was like 20 minutes or so. But yeah, it was just like a recap of the first film. It was such a cheap way of doing it. It's really interesting that these things are just not gathering the money that they are supposed to or said to. Like there, I Spit on Your Grave, Astro Video unrated, original big box of I Spit on Your Grave. No bids on it. But I think right now, does anyone have that sort of cash to spend on VHS? £135.92. Oh, Brain Damage for £2. I'm going to have a look at that guy's listings. That's very cool. There's a user there called Misty Pooey Bum. Fair enough. Night the Comet. Not a nasty, but that's a great thing. So it looks like at the moment you can quite easily get a lot of the nasties. Not all of them will be listed as nasties, I would imagine. So if there's specific ones that you want to check out, let's see if there's an original Cannibal Ferox, for example. Let's re-release ones. Yeah, let's see what else this guy that's got the I Spit on Your Grave thing up has got in there. Oh, there's Bogeyman one. Let's have a look at this guy's other listings, because these seem to be decent prices for things. So there's a Bogeyman, that is a nasty. It's not the original edition of a nasty, but for £175 to get a VHS copy of a video nasty. That's a really good deal. Brain Damage rules. Great movie. That's the same one, so I shall close that there. Some shirts and things up. But yeah, there's some really good looking tapes there. As with everything, do your research. Do your research. As in, don't watch YouTube videos, but watch these. That's nice. That's kind of you. But check out what's going on groups. Those are a really good indicator of what things are going for. There's other sites like Video Collector, and there's lots of websites out there. But do check out what things are going for on the Bay and on the Facebook Marketplace and so on, just to see what the sort of price that you should be spending, expecting to pay for something that's going to be high on the list of video nasties goodness. So have a look at this I Spit on Your Grave, because that is quite a nice tape to see. This woman has just cut, chopped, was it broiled, broken, and burned 4 men beyond recognition, but no jury in America would ever convict her. It's Demi Moore's backside, apparently. Yeah, that's one thing with a lot of these movies. They didn't have a very good back cover. You didn't really see a lot of images from things. Um, kept the money down, kept the budget down for designing these things, so they could just get them out there, get them churned out, millions and millions of tapes, um, just to match the demand. There was a huge demand for these things. Speaking of which, I did watch a BBC archive video on piracy, on video piracy, and that was really really fascinating. Not because of the subject matter, but because of some of the footage in it was amazing. You see a reproduction plant, so where people are just literally doing VHS reproductions. I'm guessing by the look of it, it was a mass market one because there were like dozens and dozens and dozens of machines and people just loading the tapes and getting it going and having loads of copies. Really interesting to see it physically going on, literally by hand, people reproducing movies. But that had quite an interesting angle on how piracy was directly affecting the legitimate business. So do check that out. BBC Archive is full of a load of really good stuff anyway, but there is some VHS stuff on there that is just well worth your time. So I'm surprised that there aren't more that evil speak poster rules. I'm surprised that there's not a lot more going with this stuff. Let's try absurd VHS. Airplane, comic strip classics. Fair enough. And switch to auction. Oh, there's no auction ones. Are there any copies of absurd? Fair enough. So yeah, just be careful with your search terms. You try leaving out the term video nasty. If you go find the list and find of the DPP's movies that were considered video nasties, do go and check out the ones that are of interest to you, but maybe leave out the words video nasty, and you may find some that are a bit cheaper, where people not be aware of their notoriety. And do check out those groups where you can find like-minded individuals who they'll very quickly put you in your place if you say something ridiculous or ask too much for something. It's always a good experience to see that people being schooled. I don't mean that in a bad way. That came across a bit bad. No, I mean that I think it's helpful for people to understand what things are actually worth, because there is a lot of misinformation out there about what things are worth and what the amount of money that things will bring in. So, yeah, thank you for looking at video nasties that are not selling with me. I greatly appreciate it, and check out the next episode of Planet Hex when I make it. That would be really grateful. I'd be really grateful for that. And check out my books, the VHS ones that I've mentioned many times on this video. And I'm very grateful for you for doing that as well, and for hanging out to check out old tapes with an old nerd who talks too much. Thank you for watching this episode of Planet Hex.